Well, hello once again, and welcome to another Heart to Heart Talk. I'm John Kuert, the pastor at Alpha Assembly in Clarion, Pennsylvania, and thanks for the opportunity to let me come to where you are via the camera and share a thought with you today. And I'd like to leave with you a word of encouragement as we wrap up this week and go into the weekend. I hope that you'll have a good weekend, whatever is happening in your life. I want you to be encouraged. And anyway, this little message, I think, comes from Job chapter 23. And I would title it, What to Remember When You Feel Like God Has Forgotten You. Ever feel like that? I'm sure we all have. I remember reading a book some years ago by Warren Wiersbe, and the opening line was, "Be kind to everyone, because everyone you meet is fighting a battle." So true, so true. It might not be a big battle, but it's a small battle. Sometimes people are fighting pretty mammoth battles. Well, if we had the time, all of us, young and old, could tell about some trial or difficulty that we are going through or have gone through. It might be a spiritual battle or a physical affliction or an emotional struggle or a financial difficulty. It might have to do with relationships at home or at work or at school. Perhaps it's a problem that's been ongoing for you for a long time, and it seems like an impossibility, or maybe it just might be a minor thing. But as bad as it might be, there are very, very few of us in this world who ever have or ever will go through the trials and tribulations as severe and as traumatic as Job. You know, in the first couple of chapters, we find he lost his children, all 10 of them. Um, he he lost everything that he owned. It was all destroyed, and he didn't have insurance in those days. He lost his health, and there were a lot of other things that had piled up in his life. And according to psychologists who have numerical values for various stress-producing situations, the stress level that Job was experiencing was off the charts. And in Job 17:11, Job says, "My days have passed, my plans are shattered, and so are the desires of my heart." And then to boot, he had a wife that said, "Why don't you just curse God and die?" And the friends that surrounded him were pointing the fingers at him and trying to convince him that God was punishing him for some sin. But yet Job hung in there and he said, "Though God slay me, yet I will trust him." And I think a man who went through as much as he did has something to say to us as we go through our battles. And from those, I'm not going to take the time to read that passage of scripture, but I want you to do it. Job chapter 23, verses 1 through 10. And here's what I get from that. There will be times of testing and trials for the child of God. We are not exempt as Christians. Notice what Job said in the 10th verse of chapter 23. He says, "When he tries me," not if, but he says when. He's not trying to be negative or pessimistic. It's just, you know what? From my past experience, we all go through trials and tribulations. And Job was certainly gone through some very great difficulties. The second thing I see in there is during those experiences, remember this, that there will be times when it seems that we cannot find God. Job, was searching for him, and he just couldn't seem to find God. And he said, if I could go to the east, he's not there. Go to the west, he's not there. I can't find him. And sometimes it feels like that. But God is there. And the third thing is, if you ever feel like that, now or in the future, remember this, that even though you cannot see him, God sees us. He knows what you're going through. Jesus said his eye is on the sparrow, and he feels what you're going through. He knew what it was like to have sorrow and to be tempted in all points like we are, and had the suffering and the shame of the cross and all those things. And finally, very quickly, remember this: through it all, God is perfecting us. No matter what we're going through. Job said this in verse 10, I shall come forth as gold. After I've gone through all this, I know that he is going to bring me forth as gold. And the great story of Amy Carmichael in India. She served the Lord for 36 years, ministering to children, and she became an invalid, confined to her room for the next 20 years. But in that time, she wrote 13 books, and that was the greatest part of her legacy. Had she not experienced that, we would not have some of the rich things, the wonderful things, the truths that she wrote. So, just remember this, that God is with us, He's for us, and Paul said, I reckon that the sufferings of this present life are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed to us. So that's a good way to enter into this weekend. I hope that you will have a great weekend, and that God will continue to bless you on into next week and into next month and on and on. Well, thanks for joining me, and do join us sometime at church. We would love to have you. Alpha Assembly is a great little church, but it's growing, and we're located there at 499 Grandview Pike in Clarion, Pennsylvania. And check out our website, alphaag.org, or the Facebook page, and we'd like to get to know you. In the meantime, until that might happen, God bless you, and have a great day and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.